wanted to start by just saying how excited and grateful I am for the opportunity to work for Coach Ferentz and work for the Iowa football team. As a younger offensive line coach, I've coached the position for 21, 22 years, and coming up through the ranks all the way from high school, and you name the division, I probably coached at it. You always keep your eye on jobs that would be a good fit for you. And as an offensive line coach, it comes down to, how much do they value the offensive line position? Schematically, how do they teach? Fundamentally, how do they teach? And then who the head coach are all those a fit? So you always have a little list of schools that you would like to someday try out. And Iowa's always been one that I've kept my eye on for sure. There's too many things match up. So I'm very excited to be here. Been here since March 9th. During that time, I've gotten to spend a lot of time with the guys in the room, which is most important out of everything right now, is getting to know each and every one of those offensive linemen. They're all in a different period of development. They're all in a different period of time through their college career. So they all have their own story, and to be able to sit down and talk with those guys and get to know each one of them individually and off the field, and then get out on the field and do a little drills. And then when spring practice started, get to know them a little bit more that way. And you really find out a lot about a young man and get a good snapshot for what his weaknesses are and what his strengths are. So that's been really exciting. I think when you start talking about the offensive line room, I think you have to start with Tyler Linderbaum. I'm not splitting the atom there. I don't think I'm telling you guys anything you don't know already. But Tyler is exactly what people say about him. His leadership, his mentorship to younger players, his everyday work ethic, and most importantly, his hunger to get better. This is a kid that could rest a little bit on his laurels and what he's accomplished, and he's the exact opposite. And we have a chunk, we'll talk later, but we have a chunk of young kids in the room right now that are going through their first spring and learning the ropes of everything. And to be able to see a kid like Tyler go through his daily activities, how he does it, is a pretty huge positive. And then you have Kyler Schott. Shooter's tremendous story. Obviously started as a walk-on, gained scholarship, became a starter at times, played really, really well. And he provides an energy and leadership that's very valuable right now. And then the third older guy that's providing a ton of leadership is Cody Ince. Cody is not able to join us on the field, but he's with us in the meetings. He's actually on the field, but helping younger kids. And he's a 5-position player, so he has the ability to speak to a lot of different kids. There's very few times where I look over and Cody's not giving a young man some advice. So that's also good to see. And Justin Britt also, for a little bit of younger guy, it gives tremendous leadership in the room. The rest of the room is I see it as kind of a land of opportunity to say. We have some middle-aged guys that are, it's their time to step in and step up. And so their opportunity is right there. And it's fun to watch those guys go through the daily process of development and getting better and stepping into those shoes that were left. And then we have a chunk of younger kids that whether they're first year or second year guys, are going through their first spring. And for the offensive line, the development piece for the offensive line is so huge. And so we have a number of guys going through that for the first time and learning the ropes and really delving into what it really means and what it's like to be an offensive lineman in college. So I'm looking forward to, I love the mix of the room, got some experience, got some guys that have opportunity, got some guys that are right in the thick of their development. And I'm just looking forward to continuing to work with them. It's been great every day with them. And I'm just looking forward to the next day and the next day and keep on that and keeping that developmental pace. And then with that being said, I'll take any questions you guys have.
You're muted, Brewer.
All right. Hey, thanks for the heads up, Chad. My mistake. Coach, we'll take the first question this afternoon from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Coach, how are you today? I'm with The Athletic. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Scott.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you kind of about your wild 3 to 4 or 5 months here. I mean, you've been with Coach Chuck Martin for a long time, and then made the move to Tulane. We're there for a cup of coffee, probably a chance to drop your bags off on the floor, and then boom, you're in Iowa. What was that whole couple of months like for you, especially after the chaotic season last year?
Yeah, it was. It's the first time I really thought about it. It was kind of a day-to-day basis for me. It was hard leaving Miami. My thoughts, my relationship with Chuck Martin is very strong, and I enjoyed my time in Miami, and we accomplished some really cool things together. But it was 7 years there, and I'm a people guy. So if I don't have a connection somehow, some way through people, maybe direct, indirect, I just kind of stay where I'm at and work hard and love every second of it. And that's what I did at Miami for all that time. And then I had some connections to Willie Fritz and Chip Long down at Tulane. And so it was a situation where I think I better look into this and see where this goes, and end up taking the job. So I get my feet on the ground there and get working. And, it's one of those deals where one of my mentor, a guy named Harry Heestand, calls me up one evening and says, "Hey, I just talked to Coach Ferentsen, and I think they're going to have a position open up." And immediately what I thought was the thoughts I had 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago of, hey, that's probably one of those jobs that I don't know if I'd ever pass up. If I had a chance to work for Coach Ferentz, I don't know if I'd ever pass that up. So that was my reaction. And then obviously the process moved forward from there. As far as the craziness of it, for me, it was just family. I have a wife and 2 kids. That's all that mattered to me. So it was crazy communication with my daughter, who's 14 years old, making sure she was my agent. She had to okay everything, and talking to my son and talking to my wife and making sure everybody was on board. And they knew they knew they knew how important this situation could be for our family. And we're all from Illinois area, central Illinois. So it was crazy, but natural. And we've just been rolling with the punches and excited. It hasn't been arduous or anything like that. A couple transitions, but heck of a question. But I really thought about it. Just keep going. And obviously when you get here, the excitement is through the roof, and you're on cloud 9. You're just trying to work and trying to find out about kids, and I don't even know what day it is. So.
All right, Scott, thank you for that and for naming your affiliation. As we move forward, please do the same. The next question is from Tom. Tom, can you state your name and affiliation?
Hey, Coach Tom Cakert. I'm with Rivals.com, Hawkeye Report. Good to meet you. Was wondering, did Harry Heestand kind of get you in the door, and what is it like for a coach to go in, an offensive line coach to go in? The Ferentz name is kind of synonymous with offensive line. Is that a nerve-wracking experience to sit down for an interview with Kirk Ferentz?
I don't know about nerve-wracking. To me, I saw it as an opportunity. I saw it as what an opportunity to sit down and talk football with Coach Ferentz and Brian and all the guys here. And I don't know if nerve-wracking is the word, because you just admire the work that they've done here. To be able to go through multiple line coaches, and they keep the same fundamentals and they keep the same teachings, and that was the intrigue that I've always had with Iowa, is they lean on certain things. And but yeah, no, just sitting down with those guys and talking football, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be, but better. The success they've had, as a line coach and an outsider. So 2 months ago, I'm not at Iowa, and I'm a line coach. And Coach Ferentz, Iowa football, that's pretty high. That's pretty top shelf. And when you come in and talk ball and listen to them respond and ask them questions too, and listen, what strikes you is obviously the knowledge base. What also strikes you is how humble they are and how they handle their business. And it makes you want to be a part of it. And that was what I took from that interview process. I told my wife, I said, I'll have a hard time thinking that I'm not going to be a better coach working in this building. I have a hard time thinking I'm not going to be a better husband and father working for Coach Ferentz. Because to me, it's everything. It's not just the coaching piece especially when you're raising two little ones.
Coach, the next question is from Chad.
Hi there, Chad Leistico with the Des Moines Register. Nice to meet you. Obviously, you come into a situation where Iowa was replacing 2 starting tackles. I was just kind of curious, philosophically, what do you look for in your starting tackles? What have you seen maybe so far from some of the leaders in camp?
I think what you're looking for, first of all, is just a basis of fundamentals with their feet. You're always looking for the athletic ability with their lower body. That's because if they can place their body correctly in the run and the pass on the edges, you got a chance. That's a start. And then it goes to the mental for me. Confidence level. If they do have a rep that doesn't go great, how are they in the huddle that next play? Love watching the guys in the huddle. Love watching their facial expressions, their body language after a not so great rep, and how do they bounce back? Is playing tackles a little bit like playing probably DB in the league, because there's going to be not so great reps, and how do you react and how do you respond and get back to that next rep? So I think it's a mix of the physical and the mental. And we've had some guys doing some nice things in camp, but it's a developmental phase right now. There's no question, and I wouldn't expect anything different if you're replacing the guys we're replacing right now. Jack Plum has stepped in and done a nice job at left, and he's played a little bit of both during camp. I think that's important too, to dual train a little bit. But Jack has gotten better. The last 6 or 7 days, he's really started to ramp up his play a little bit, and that's to be expected. A little bit of a lull is to be expected, a little bit of a ramps to be expected. There might be a little lull coming, and how he handles all those phases through this development is key. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's absolutely a day-by-day process when you're talking about offensive line play. But yeah, he's doing a fine job, and Nick DeYoung has gotten a lot of the reps on the other side. He plays big, he plays square, very fundamentally sound, very calm demeanor. Him and Jack both, they handle themselves well. But Nick's been a pleasure to watch and coach through the camp here. And Mason Richmond's kicked out. He's been playing some guard for us as a young kid, and he's kicked out to the tackle position also. And he's very smooth and natural and athletic. I think you'll notice with him, and when you see him, he does a lot of things well for a young kid. So and then there's some other guys hanging in there for that 4 spot and working in with the 2s, and they're doing a fine job. It's just the day-to-day. It's how can we mesh the athletic with the mental.
All right, Coach, the next question is from Leah. Leah, can you please state your full name and affiliation?
Hi, Coach, I'm Leah. I'm with the Cedar Rapids Gazette, Leah Van. I'm also new here, so we're together in this. But anyway, yeah, I just kind of wanted to know more about why you got into coaching. We kind of all know what's on the resume, right? But kind of why you actually got into coaching, what you love about it. And then my second question would be what learning curves you might anticipate stepping into this job.
Number one, I'll start with your second question. The learning curves, I think the biggest learning curve anytime you step into a new building is just getting into a flow of the staff chemistry. And especially it's cool here because the staff's been together for so long. So there's so many known unknowns in our facility that because of the familiarity. So, but that's part of the transition. And then I think just getting to know the players. And I think when you're a coach stepping in the building, my younger days, the first thing that I want to do is put my foot down. Hey, this is how it's going to be, and this is how we're going to do it. And as I age a little bit and have experience with kids, I think it's important to take a snapshot, take a deep breath and watch and really evaluate and watch the kids and identify the leaders. Sitting down with Tyler and asking him questions about the room, not only about himself, but the room and figuring out, all right, and letting it happen a little bit naturally and not trying to force things. Because again, this isn't a place where, I've been at some jobs where hey, we hired a new line coach. It's like you're a fireman. Come in, put out the fire. It's over there. And you do exactly what you want to do, and you do exactly how you have to do it, and just get it done. Here, there's not a fire. Here, they need someone to come in and do it their way, but do it in a way that it's cohesive with the players and the present coaches. And that, to me, that's the biggest thing that I've tried to focus on during this transition is just watch and learn and not let your ego or your pride precede what needs to be done. Your first question is a good one. Why'd you get into coaching? Long story short, I grew up in a small town called Tuscola, Illinois, right smack dab in central Illinois. Small, real strong sports community. Everybody played 3 sports. It was awesome. My freshman year, my father passed away. Okay. And what happened was, and I really didn't know at the time, but as I grew through my high school years, looking back, you realize how much your coaches help raise you, to be quite honest with you. And it's a powerful situation. And father figures, helping you get from point A to point B and not giving you any slack and pushing you hard, even though you're lost and you're trying to find answers to the 14-year-old kid who lost his dad. And those experiences shaped me. I just didn't realize it. For instance, I got to college, I was a business major, I don't know, year and a half in, something like that. And I remember waking up one morning in my dorm, I looked in the mirror and I basically got mad at myself. I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, why wouldn't you be a coach? Like, why wouldn't you be a coach and have the same effect on other kids that these people did on you? I look back at Coach Winky, my high school football coach, and Coach Butler, my freshman basketball coach, who was my coach when my father passed. And that next week, he was there for me. In those moments, and I switched my major that day. I switched my major to education that day and loaded up and became a high school teacher. And I'm so glad I did. So glad I did. And so when you asked, why do you coach? That's why I coach. What's your why? My why is watching kids develop and watching kids become something they weren't quite sure they could become. And the challenge in this profession is finding the fit. The challenge in this profession as a line coach is finding, okay, I believe in these things, right? And I'm going to go try to work at a high level and not have those principles distorted and not lose myself in it. And I'm not so sure if there's a better place for that fit. That's how I've thought. When I say I've always thought of Iowa, it's because of what happened to me in high school. And so that's why I coach.
Coach, the next question is from Tyler. Tyler, can you state your name and affiliation?
Hey, George, I'm Tyler Devine with HawkFanatic.com. How much research do you do on the personnel that you're going to be working with? How much are you allowed to do, I guess, or can you do before you step on campus? Or is it just kind of, you throw yourself in there and you learn about these guys personally on the fly?
Yeah, it probably depends. I think when a job gets brought up to you, I think it depends on how powerful the job is for you. How much of, if the roster may not be where you want it to be, everything else has to check out. It's like recruiting. It's the same thing. Here, I love the roster. I love the roster. Checked it out and had discussions about it. Love the mix of youth where you can get in and develop and get your hands dirty. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect early, and it's not what everybody, who's your starting five? I don't know. We don't know yet. We're in developmental phases. So you may not have all the popular answers early in this situation, but it is definitely that situation that outweighs everything else. So, and to me here, it's the right place, it's the right head coach, and I really like how the roster is shaped, because you have that small pack of leadership at the top, and then you have a developmental group that's, because of everything that happened last year. If you think about it, a lot of them are going through their first spring. So,
Coach, we got 3 more hands, so we'll take 3 more questions. The first is from David. David, can you please state your name and affiliation?
Hey, Coach Barnett, welcome to Iowa City. David Eichel, 24/7 Sports Hawkeye Insider. If you could give me 3 words to describe your coaching philosophy and why, what 3 words would you choose?
3 words. I would say genuine. I would say develop, and I would say work. Those are probably the 3 words that I would lean on if, when I go into a job, go into a day of work. That's how I was raised, and that's what I believe in.
2 more questions, Coach. We'll circle back to Scott Dockerman from The Athletic.
Yeah, it's been a few years since we heard the name Winky and Tuscola, with John Winky here as the backup quarterback and short yardage punter at Iowa a few years ago. I wanted to ask you about kind of marrying your philosophy with that of Iowa's in a blocking perspective. Iowa's really unique characteristic is the backside knee and its aiming point. But how do you kind of marry what you've taught all these years with what Coach Ferentz is probably on the Mount Rushmore of line coaches, and how does that sync up, and what do you have to learn, and how do you take away from the way he applies his style of philosophy and stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's the unique thing with this situation. I've always coached the same fundamentals, same coaching words, same fundamentals. So my mentor, Harry Hiestand, he's a descendant of Joe Moore on the coaching tree, just like Coach Ferentz is. So that's how everything kind of connected together. I've been teaching those fundamentals since 1999 in Mattoon High School, and the backside knee and so that's probably starting to put the puzzle pieces together a little bit how I got here, but that's certainly the again 10 years ago when I'm looking for jobs that I would, from my side, that would be interested in. That's a huge piece of it. I mean, it's literally the same stuff. And even then, you come in, you still want to know exactly what's being said and how it's being said, and you're a little bit more quiet than you are talking early on, and because you want to do it right. You want to do those kids the right way and make sure that the transition is good for those kids. Those kids are 18, 19, 20-year-old. That's not easy. So what can I do as a coach to make their transition easier? Now, when I was in my 20s, I didn't think that. I didn't even think that way. I was just going in and, hey, I got to get this done and got to go. But yeah, the similarities and the meshing of the fundamentals it's aligned, I would say.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, the final question this afternoon is from Tom Cakert of Hawkeye Report.
Coach, wanted to ask you about recruiting a little bit. Do you have a recruiting territory eventually you're going to get out on the road again, I think. So do you kind of have an area carved out, and how has it gone transitioning to recruiting at the Iowa level so far?
Recruiting is, in my opinion, is very similar no matter where you're at. I haven't seen a huge change, honestly. It's still about relationships. It's still about finding the right fit and helping kids find the right fit. Sometimes we get caught up in recruiting battles and things like that. And if you just help a kid find where he fits in the best, everyone wins down the road. It's hard to stick to that. But yeah, no, it's territory wise, what I'm hearing right now, I believe it's going to be Wisconsin. It's going to be through the central swath of Illinois and then over in the Cincinnati-Dayton area.
All right, Coach, we appreciate the insight. It was a pleasure to meet you, and we'll look forward to doing it again. Thanks for your time.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Yeah, same to you. As Coach George Barnett slides out, Coach